रागविद्या निज भक्ति योगा शिक्षार्थमेक पुरुष पुराना श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य शरीरधारी कृपा बुद्धिर्य तमहं प्रपद्ये मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं श्री गुरुदीनताय वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम हरे कृष्ण. Welcome everyone for joining us in the study of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So we continue our study of sixth chapter. Previously we discussed text 30, but 30 beautiful text, and personally also I like it. Every shloka in Bhagavad Gita is amazing. So I'll bring it up on the screen. Yo mam pasyati sarvatra sarvam cha may pasyati tasyam na pranashyami sacha me na pranasyati. Uh, so we'll read just the translation today, and I asked this question previously as well, but maybe I feel I would ask again, and any thoughts would be please share. Huh? So Sophia, just read translation. Thank you. So the question is, what is the symptom of one being in love? What is the symptom of one's being in love, that okay, he or she is in love? Always in our minds, lovingly, cherishedly. It's very difficult to forget them. Always in remembrance. This is a symptom of love. How much we remember, how much we remember. The practice of Krishna consciousness teaches us what, like generally practice. They chant 16 rounds, some chant like 8 rounds, 12 rounds, but generally speaking, worldwide, people chant, practitioners chant 16 rounds daily. Some chant more than 16 as well. And chanting 16 rounds, again, practitioners, devotees worldwide try, aim, or aspire to chant it in one go. And chanting 16 rounds in one sitting takes about 2 hours. So it's not like, okay, I've done my rounds for today and whew, that's it. I'm free for the day. And now I can go and do whatever I like. No. The whole purpose of chanting these 2 hours is to remember Krishna for the rest 22 hours, or to invoke that feeling of love, that when will the when will next day, tomorrow come about, so that I can chant again. I can chant again. That is the thing. Again, the we are reading Bhagavad Gita. What is the purpose of knowledge, right? Purpose of knowledge is to gain some knowledge which helps us get motivation to act a bit more freely, act a bit more peacefully, to apply some principles in our life and be more peaceful and all. Ultimate purpose of knowledge is to fall in love with Krishna. That's the ultimate purpose, to be in a loving relationship. Uh, we just a common example I've quoted a few times: boy and girl. Boy sees a girl, likes the girl, girl likes a boy, and all. So generally it is observed, right? Boy tries to find more details and knowledge and information about the girl. Where does she live? What does she like? What does she do not like? Who does she hang out with? Firstly, has she got a boyfriend or not?
something. And then through getting that information, knowledge, making efforts and all, ultimately what the boy wants to be in a loving relationship with the girl. Girl wants to be in a loving relationship with the boy. So likewise, we are trying to understand Bhagavad Gita with the sole intention to fall in love with Krishna. And when we are in love with someone, what do? We serve the person. We try to act in a way, we try to live in a way, we think whatever we do, we cater it for the joy of the person, our beloved. So the whole science, the philosophy, the practice of Krishna consciousness is how can we connect to our source, to our roots, and how can we love Krishna unconditionally. I mean, Krishna loves us unconditionally, and so should we. So this is whole an attempt. It's not like I would never say that I've become a devotee. No. And the day I consider myself to be a devotee, I would be pushing myself back. Because the day I consider or think that, okay, yes, now I've become a devotee, then Krishna will say, very soon pride will kick in. Very soon. Very soon. And Krishna doesn't like pride in anyone. So Krishna will say, okay, then you are on your own. Then you are on your own. And for a genuine devotee, it would be the most unbearable thing to hear from Krishna that you are on your own. No, I mean, throughout since eternity, I've been on my own, as in, I've been listening to the dictations of my conditioned mind and keeping myself away from Krishna. Now that I've been blessed by devotee association to understand Krishna consciousness, and somehow I'm finding my interest in it as well. So I do not aspire, I do not desire to be on my own. No. On my own is struggle. Arjuna was on his own, he was struggling. He called for help for Krishna, and then we see how beautifully he fought and loved it. So coming again, the whole point of like the symptom of one's being in love is to remember how much do we remember Krishna? How much do we think of Krishna? How much do we see Krishna's energies? Like being remindful of Krishna. So we discussed, right? Um, suppose a mom or dad, a parent, someone sees the slipper of a 3 year, 5 year old child, or they see a 5 year old child playing in a garden. And now their children could be in the nursery, like the dad could be posted in some foreign country. And in that country, he sees a 5 year old child going to school or coming from school or playing in a nursery in a garden. Wouldn't that remind him of his son? That would straight away remind him of his child back home. And even like if he sees a child shop or some slippers or something, it will straight away remind him of his child. Likewise, whenever for us, this is the consciousness we need to develop, we should be developing. That whenever we see a tree, it should remind us of Krishna. Whenever we see a car, it should remind us of Krishna. Whenever we see a bird, it should remind us of Krishna. Whenever we see a human being, it should remind us of Krishna. Definitely, when we see devotees, we are reminded of Krishna or we like that. But when we go out as well, studies, whatever we see, it should remind us of Krishna. How to come to that remembrance. And this is why the core, like reading, hearing, chanting, these are the core principles we need to follow. And the four regulative principles which devotees follow is no eating, no meat eating, including onion and garlic, no gambling, no speculation, no gambling, no intoxication, including caffeine oriented tea and coffee, what to speak of pints or lagers and wine or whiskey, and no illicit relationships. So these all do not make us a devotee. These all certainly do not make us a devotee. I mean, we see in animal kingdom as well. There are not much. Some animals who are not so much sexually inclined, and they are not meat-eating animals as well and all. But then doesn't make us a devotee. But it certainly helps us not commit sin, or not sin as in not lower down our energy level, not lower down our capacity, not to be to keep our mind in a sanity, with some calmness, peacefulness, that way, so that we can open up ourselves nicely to the whole practice of Krishna consciousness and imbibe Krishna consciousness more wholeheartedly, understand a higher knowledge and a higher dimension. So the whole thing is, how can we always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna? And this is what Krishna is saying, Yomam Pasyati Sarvatra, somehow or other. And it's not like a mental imposition on the mind, or a theoretical bombardment, or somehow through theory. No, further on, as we read, as we chant, as we listen, we would be actually able to apply this in our daily lives. That meeting someone, seeing something, seeing someone, we are reminded of Krishna. We should be reminded of Krishna, because nothing exists independent of Krishna. Everything and everyone belongs to Krishna. Everything and everyone is Krishna's property. So naturally, we should be reminded. Imagine a big businessman; he has a big factory and all. Wherever some new employee joins, or some old employee as well, wherever they go, they know very well. Oh, this is my boss's property. That's my boss's property. My boss created this. It belongs to my boss and all. Like we could give this example. See, now with pandemic, many work from home and all, right? So people have the work laptop and have their personal laptop as well. Now many people, they would be very shy away. They would be very afraid uh, to do anything dodgy in their work laptop, like to open up some video games and playing. In their personal laptop, they would be playing video games, downloading softwares and all. And in their work laptop, they may not be doing Facebook as well, and any other uh, obscene content and all. No, in their personal, perhaps yes, because they know this is not my laptop, this is my office laptop, and I can easily be tracked, isn't it? I can easily be tracked, or if office gets to know, I could be having a strict disciplinary action could be taken against me, or so quickly I could be fired, sacked off. So I better not do anything with my work laptop. That is not good. I try to understand the principles and follow the principles what my company says. Personal laptop, yeah, that's my personal laptop. I can do whatever, I can install, download, watch whatever I want to watch. If that same amount of sanity we can develop, that Krishna is watching me, or I can easily be tracked. I am being tracked. Krishna is watching me. As much sanity I have when going to work laptop, working any work person. There are some people who still download some video games, or still watch some dodgy things, or do some wrong things and all that. But generally speaking, this much sanity we keep. Okay, this is my office laptop, and I keep it safely. I keep it nicely. So likewise as well, and whatever we know, okay, this belongs to office. This belongs. The charger belongs to my company. Laptop belongs to my company. The mouse, the bag, and all. Likewise, if we can see, okay, this belongs to Krishna. This belongs to Krishna, and all. And no, my life is valuable. My body is valuable. My thoughts are valuable. My emotions are valuable. I wouldn't let myself to be played or used by someone else, and wouldn't I want to exploit anyone else as well. So that thing, when we understand that uh, for one who sees me everywhere, uh, it's not like when we see a tree, we say, oh, that tree is Krishna. But we are in the mindfulness of Krishna. We are in awareness, okay, yes, this tree, this grass, uh, this house belongs to Krishna. Everything comes from Krishna. Everything belongs to Krishna. Everything is sustained by the energy of Krishna. Nothing is living independently. Nothing, nothing has its independent existence. No, nothing is outside the domain of Krishna. Nothing is outside the purview, the control of Krishna. Krishna is a sweet, loving personality altogether. Sweet, loving personality. Simple, sweet, loving personality, playing flute and having a very loving pastimes with Brajvasis. Any thoughts, questions, or comment? Okay, so let's check today's verse then. सर्वभूतस्थितं यो मां भजति एकत्वमास्थितः सर्वथा वर्तमानोऽपि स योगी मयि वर्तते. Okay, I will just ask Alia.
Translation and purpose. Purpose. Alia, can I give the laptop to? They say they are not able to hear. Or you can see from the wherever. पंचरात्र दित्कालादि अनविच्छन्ने कृष्णे चेतो विधाय च तन्मयो भवति क्षिप्रं जीवो ब्रह्मणि योजयेत्. Concentrating. एको अपि सन् बहुधा यो विभाति. स्मृति शास्त्र एक एव परो विष्णु सर्वव्यापी न संशय ऐश्वर्याद् रूपम् एकं च सूर्यवत् बहुधेयते. Galia?
I can read again. Translation. Such a yogi who engages in the worshipful such a yogi who engages in the worshipful service of the super soul, knowing that I and the super soul are one, remains always in me in all circumstances. So I and the super soul are one, meaning in quality or in nature, in real our spiritual nature, we and Krishna are the same. In the sense, none of us, we all as well, doesn't matter if someone is a theist or atheist, practicing or not practicing, we all aspire to be ever happy. We all look for knowledge and we all seek security because that is our real nature, to be ever happy. Satchitananda Vigraha, to be everlastingly happy. And also in this joy, we want the joy to be ever excelling, ever excelling. But because through our mind we are trapped within this material world, or through our mind we associate heavily with this material world, we are associate very heavily with material identities, material emotions, thought process, and all. This is why we are stuck. But Krishna, for him, nothing is matter. When Krishna appeared in this earthly planet 5,000 years ago, it was nothing is matter. For Krishna, there is no Maya, and for us, it is hardly any Krishna consciousness. It's so much Maya consciousness. And this is why the practice of Krishna consciousness is there, so that we can revive our original consciousness. The message is very simple. The message is very simple. Everyone in this world is engaged in something or the other. Student, teacher, lawyer, engineer, doctor, um, housewife. Everyone is engaged. Retired person. Everyone is engaged. We all need some engagement for the mind, and we employ our senses in those engagement. Now, Krishna consciousness gives us this, to say, for now I will use this word, alternate option, or that alternate lifestyle engagement, that engage in reading Bhagavad Gita rather than reading uh, some celebrity magazines, say, or some other books and all. We can read Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, literatures like that. Then, rather than speaking mundane stuff, or say Hollywood, Bollywood songs and like that, we can chant the names of Krishna, and we can sing Vaishnava songs, beautiful, beautiful Vaishnava songs. Rather than say watching things here and there, mundane, not so good for our consciousness, our heart, we can actually take the ocean of the deities, and we can help actually, and decorate the deities, look after the deities, take care of them, and all this is practically experienced and observed. Everyone's like realization. It has made people's hearts softer, more calmer, more sober, more peaceful. So it's not like anything needs to be left, and certainly not abruptly. Nothing needs to be left. Rather, how much more can we engage and connect ourselves? Because in spirit, we are also spiritual beings. We are, um, yeah, we are also spiritual beings having that spiritual emotion. Well, but because Krishna is not at all attracted by Maya, Maya doesn't touch him, and we are very much tainted by Maya, so we get sidetracked. So the whole practice is, how could we be living in this world but be not of this world? That is the thing. How can we be living in this world though, but not of this world? And Krishna consciousness gives us that option. I said like alternate option, alternate lifestyle engagement reality. Alternate, why? Because currently we are so absorbed in our second nature, this lifestyle, this engagement, and also this is why we call it, say, like alternate. But actually, this is the real thing. This is the real deal. This is the real thing. This is real reality. Uh, Have you heard this saying? We are human beings having a spiritual experience, or or spiritual beings having a human experience, right? Human beings, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, human beings having a spiritual experience. Well, I don't know, putting some stats or some percentage, more than 98% of the world's population are actually living as human beings, having a human experience only. But the practice of Bhagavad Gita Krishna consciousness gives us this opportunity to live like spiritual beings and have a spiritual experience. We all are spiritual beings, and putting it into practice, we can have a spiritual experience as well. And nothing beats one experience. Nothing beats one experience. So, by understanding the philosophy, faith everyone has got, putting that faith into practice. And again, the amount of faith is required in, say, academic pursuits is the same amount of faith, no slightly more, exactly the same amount of faith we need in practicing or advancing in Krishna consciousness, understanding our real nature, and being in a loving relationship with Krishna. Any thoughts, questions, or comments? Okay, let's see next. And it's completely non-sectarian. Nothing in Bhagavad Gita would find that Krishna is speaking to a particular audience. He's speaking to a particular class, sect of peoples, particular land, particular way of working and all. No, completely non-sectarian. And timeless wisdom, the things which was spoken 5,000 years ago, but so relevant and contemporary, and for days to come as well. आत्मौपम्येन सर्वत्र समं पश्यति यो अर्जुन सुखं वा यदि वा दुःखं. This is beautiful, everything like सुखं वा यदि वा दुःखं स योगी परमो मत. Harsha, read translation and purport.
I can't see anything in the screen.
We're not able to hear you, Harsha.
Hare Krishna.
I can hear you now. Oh, wait, I'm sharing the screen now. Yeah, read translation and purport, please.
He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress, O Arjuna. Purport as well.
Yes.
One who is Krishna conscious is a perfect yogi. He is aware of everyone's happiness and distress by dint of his own personal experience. The cause of the distress of a living entity is forgetfulness of his relationship with God. The cause of the distress of a living entity is forgetfulness of his relationship with God. And the cause of happiness is knowing Krishna to be the supreme enjoyer of all the activities of the human being, the proprietor of all lands and planets, and the sincerest friend of all living entities. The perfect yogi knows that the living being who is conditioned by the modes of material nature is subjected to the threefold material miseries due to forgetfulness of his relationship with Krishna. And because one is Krishna consciousness, and one because in Krishna consciousness is happy, he tries to distribute the knowledge of Krishna everywhere. Since the perfect yogi tries to broadcast the importance of becoming Krishna conscious, he is the best philanthropist in the world. And he is the dearest servitor of the Lord. Nacha tasmanam manusyesu kaschin me priya kritamaha. In other words, a devotee of the Lord always looks to the welfare of all living entities. And in this way, he is factually the friend of everyone. He is the best yogi because he does not desire perfection in yoga for his personal benefit, but tries for others also. He is the best yogi because he does not desire perfection in yoga for his personal benefit, but tries for others also. He does not envy his fellow living entities. Here is a contrast between a pure devotee of the Lord and a yogi interested only in his personal elevation. The yogi who has withdrawn to a secluded place in order to meditate perfectly may not be as perfect as a devotee who is trying his best to turn every man toward Krishna consciousness. The yogi who has withdrawn to a secluded place in order to meditate perfectly may not be as perfect as a devotee who is trying his best to turn every man toward Krishna consciousness. He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress, O Arjuna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Aisha. Mm. Yeah, person is actually recognized or considered as I say, even say a human being, one who is of use to others, one who comes of be of help to someone. A yogi, a sadhaka, a spiritual practitioner. I mean, he isn't just practicing for himself or for his own elevation or for his own emancipation, say. No. He's someone who compassionate, who is deemed to be compassionate. No, a spiritual practitioner, he should be kind, gentle, and compassionate. And this is not for all for himself, to come of be of help to others. And we can see like through empathy and sympathy, through our own experience. So he is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, they say what? Do not do to others. Asha, you know this complete. Do not do to others. Yeah, do not do to others what you do not want done to be yourself. So, do not do to others what you do not want to be done to yourself. So, yogi is one who comes of help to others, not just for his own personal agenda or his personal, say, emancipation. No. So, he's someone who is wanting to be of help to others. And through one's comparison, one can see, right? Every time we should consider, remember, understand no one is a born saint. No one comes out of the womb of a mother or a saint is born. And no one is a born sinner. No one again comes out of the womb of a mother, okay, a sinner is born. No. It is through our, predominantly through our participation in life. Time, circumstances, place, situations, yeah, they all influence our consciousness. Most important is the company we keep, the friends, the company we keep, and they all influence our consciousness. And then we can take on the path of either sainthood or say immorality. But through our own experience, one can see how people are so much caught up in the glare of illusion in the realm of Maya, in engaging activities, something which is not really conducive, beneficial for the body, mind, and soul, and true advancement. So he, by comparison of his own self to his own self, he sees the true equality of all beings. Having us practicing Krishna consciousness, being a devotee, it doesn't give us any license that we can look down upon anyone as such. No, it doesn't give us any license that we can offend anyone. Mahaprabhu's teachings teach us that Jive Samman Dibo Jani Krishna Adhisthana. Mahaprabhu's teachings teach us that to be one should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind. Actually, chanting can be done in a humble state of mind only. So, how do we bring our mind in that humble state? This is why devotee association is needed. All this is to purify our hearts so that we fall in love with Krishna for eternity. And never consider ourselves to be any glorious. No, rather, our real glory is when we understand that I'm a part of Krishna's existence. Huh? How I have my relevance because I belong to Krishna. I'm Krishna's. This is our true worth. This is our true glory. And we should live by it. We should be glorious of this. We should carry pride in this. But living this, we do not carry pride in this. And without becoming pure, problem is without becoming pure, we want to show that we are pure. We want to act as if we are pure. And we want to attract all the all the praise, encouragement, name, fame, all these things which come along that look I'm a gentle person, I'm a righteous person, pious person, moral person, pure person. No, it's like without going through the practice of becoming a doctor, but we want all that. Okay, take me as a doctor, treat me as a doctor. Without going through the practice of military training, we want all name, fame, recognition. No, it's not good. It doesn't work. So the process is when we go through it, there will be purification of heart and can see in both their happiness and their distress. Uh, One briefly, if you would like to describe or define happiness, how would you say happiness? So I find it difficult to define or describe, but say something. See, in this day and age, happiness, and let me know if this is not a contemporary definition or understanding. If I'm not sad, then I'm happy. Negation of sadness becomes like happiness. As in, if I'm not having stress, if I'm not having a rough time, if I'm not anxious, if I've got things under control, then yes, happy. Yeah, and because we are so much under the sway or the material energy and fast life, relationships here and there and everything. So whatever little we can manage to hold on to, and then yes, this is happiness. And that peace is all generally based on material considerations, as in uh, what brings that peace of mind, understanding I have a secured house, secured job, secured things and all. By and large, that drives our peace factor. And if any box is slightly unticked, then it may shake us up. But what I like Krishna is in for us to become a spiritualist first, let's come to a platform of humanist or be human. Okay. So have some empathy and some sympathy on have some consideration. It is a big quality to be considerate. How much practical engagement, many people they live in shared accommodation, right? So we need to thing is we do not live in isolation. We do not live in isolation. So we have to be considered like here in temple, brahmachari ashram, brahmacharini ashram, ladies ashram, bhakta ashram, different ashrams and all. There are different rooms. Now living together as well, we have to be considerate of our waking up times, sleeping times, and many other things, cleanliness and things and all. If we are in a different setting, say if I'm in my own house and all separate, it's a different thing. But even if then I'm not being considerate, living individually on my own alone in my own property, say if I'm not considerate, it is not going to be good for my own consciousness, my own well-being, if I'm not considerate. So we need to learn how to be considerate, and through our own experience, this one, what you do not want uh, done to be yourself, do not do it to others, or what, that was developing more considerate nature. Something on these lines, a story comes, and on say happiness, there were two neighbors. mm, there were two neighbors, and they were visited by a saintly person, a monk and a saintly person. I'm trying to recall the story, say. So they visited, he visited neighbor, first neighbor, the saintly person. So he was treated nicely, and they said, oh, can you offer some benediction, or can you give us some reward? And the saintly people, they are naturally kind. Okay, what would you like? So he said, I would like a new car, please. Okay, fine, take a new car. Fine. If this is what gives you peace, or yeah, go for it, take a new car, you will get a new car. So then by the saint's blessings, new car comes into his house. Saint goes to the neighbor house as well, and the other neighbor knows, okay, he has been there. So what would you like? He says, whatever my neighbor has asked, double it up. Whatever my neighbor asks, I want extra of it, one more of it. Okay, so you take two cars then. Then again he goes to the first neighbor's house. Oh, what this time? Well, another house would be good to have. Okay, fine. So he goes again to the next neighbor. So what would you like? Same thing. Whatever he asks, double it up. So an additional house. Like this, some more bank balance, holiday and all. Then this first neighbor, he was thinking, wow, some things like not looking fine. I'm getting a house, but my neighbor is also having a big house, big two houses. One car, he's getting two big cars. One garden, he's getting a big garden. So now Saint comes, let him come this one. What do you want? I would want chop off my arm to be chopped, or hit my eye. I would want a big loss, a big loss. I would want my car to be stolen. Okay, fine. Goes to the neighbor's house. What do you want? Same. I want exactly the same. Whatever he wants, double it up. Whatever he wants, double it up. So neighbor loses one car, and the other person loses both his car. Neighbor loses say one hand, he loses both his hands. So so this is the society we live in actually. A bit of a harsh reality though. That way, very competitive mode we live in. When we understand, so question is how do we transcend this jealousy, this competitiveness, this insecurity? First of all, when we understand, well, on a spiritual platform, or we need to understand who we are, what is our identity, our relationship with Krishna. Just like the previous, right? Krishna says, wherever, whosoever you see, it should remind us you of me. If we are living in that consciousness, we would never be feeling insecure, or not even exploitative, and not jealous, or anything of those emotions which pull us down. We should really stop seeing things in scarcity. Nothing is in scarcity. It is understanding or taking things and resources and say relationship elements to be in scarcity, which makes us go between a pressure zone, freak, and then come to our lower nature, or act by our instinct, and do get into anger and whatnot. But when we realize the only scarcity is lack of Krishna consciousness, or my relationship with Krishna, or understanding Krishna, or my spiritual identity. Who am I? When I lack in this knowledge, then I see everything in scarcity, and then I come about acting like a say a karmi, a materialist, But when I understand my spiritual identity, then I would, for spirit, there is nothing lacking. Everything is in abundance. For matter, everything is in lacking, shortage. So when I understand my real potential, real identity, gradually, then I can build it up, and I will have that sort of experiences, that sort of conviction. So then I can transcend. And this is why mantra meditation is so crucial. Mantra meditation. Mantra means manastrayate iti mantra, that which delivers the mind from ignorance, from any anxiety, or from that which help transcend the mind from lower energies, lower thoughts, lower emotions. So when we chant the holy name of Krishna, it puts us in direct communion, direct union, direct loving relationship with Krishna, that we can situate ourselves completely off the material strata, and then we wouldn't feel this insecurity or scarcity, and we would be we it is not practical that we can love everyone. Never, nowhere Krishna says that love everyone, but at least this is practical. Krishna wants this. We hate no one. So that will come about, na, when we see ourselves as well. Again, we do not want to be hatred, so why should we hate someone? But when we understand our relationship with Krishna, then that other person is also in a relationship with Krishna, then we wouldn't, compassion would come about. Compassion would more and more evolve. And when we are compassionate, we are not just compassionate to humans and on a material skin level, say, we would be compassionate towards nature, plants, trees, birds, animals, everyone. So yogi is one who is coming of use to others. Life is meant to serve, na? Life is meant to serve only, and we need to realize that the higher joy in life is experienced through service. Through service, like I say, this thing, mm, in India there is metro system. Every country here call it tube. London, Germany, possibly train, metro, whatever they call, but some public transport arrangement and all. Now imagine a bus stop, say. Now, in a bus stop, we see a lady, a child, a man, whosoever, they lost their phone, or say they missed their phone in the house, and they have got a train to catch, and they need to ring someone up, or or say they are running low in balance in their phone, and they need the phone to balance to be topped up. Now if we are in the bus stop, what would we do? We would want to go and offer help, right? To top up the balance, or help her make the phone call, or connect via internet and get her ticket something downloaded or something. Hmm? Help. And say if we do this, if we even have to recharge the person's mobile phone, top it up by 10 pounds, or whatever euros or Indian currency, would we ask from that person, actually this is my number and all, can you repay it back to me? No, generally we wouldn't ask. Even though someone may need cash, we give cash to that person, that you are in need, okay, we understand, and take this cash. Now if the lady, if the man, if the child wants to says that, give me your house address, I will post you the cash, I'll return the money to you, still would say, okay, no, don't worry about it, don't think about it, keep the cash, use it nicely. The sort of joy one experiences, that's like boundless. It's like, and this is still on a human platform, on a very bodily platform still, but we feel very at peace. So when we start acting ourselves on the spiritual platform, and working on that spiritual platform, and being of spiritual help to someone, what sort of joy? Something on those lines. Any thoughts, questions, or comments? So Bhagavad Gita never gives us an opportunity to look down upon us. It is all for introspection, for self-improvement. We are not here to prove someone that how good am I, how how good one speaks, how good one looks, or how lofty the practice is, or how. No, it is to for self improvement. Yes, Alia. How is that equality? Oh, nice, good question. So people in wartime, their emotions, their experiences, their realities of life is very different to those not in wartime. Like those American soldiers, British soldiers, and others whosoever went to Iraq, Afghanistan, and many of them didn't return, or hardly anyone came with any good memory or good experience, right? Rather, they came back with PTSD, is it called? Post trauma syndrome, post traumatic stress disorder, many such things and all. And even those who lived in First World War, Second World War. So this all is all driven by largely by greed, political greed, yeah, by exploitation. This war isn't meant to nourish anyone. It is meant for exploitation only, not to help anyone and all. So the root cause of one's identity has to be seen. And see, I asked this thing, trying to answer your question only. In this war of Bhagavad Gita, it was fought and many died. But tell me, how many children died in this war? How many women died in this war? How many elderly people died in this war? Zero. Zero. How many children died in Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, India, Pakistan war, Israel, Palestine, currently ongoing, Russia, Ukraine? It's a question of context, it's a question of culture as well, it's a question of understanding knowledge, in the sense when this war was fought, like the rule, the Vedic setting was that okay, we choose a ground, we choose a place, we choose a date when we want to go to war, we choose a time period, as in after sunset no war, no fighting after sunset. And we hear in Mahabharata, after sunset, Arjuna, Krishna, and the other parties, they could well be going in each other camps as well, and they could be sitting, uh, some relaxation or some game sort of thing. So after sunset, those were the, although within this wars rules were broken, because when it's war and all modes, the rules won't count. But at least not this gross inhumanity insane that no women were killed, or no children were killed, and no schools were burned down. Nothing, because they chose a place in advance. They chose a venue, a field where they want to fight, and which was very far from the city, very far from the city. And they knew who the two parties are involved, the rules and around it and all. So this war also was based on greed, because one party, the Kauravas, were so greedy, they were not wanting to give up and all. Them what was due to Arjuna, their rightful claim, they were not wanting to give it up. And so this world is full of duality, expanding between where morality and immorality, good and evil, uh, throughout. And this is why Krishna came, appeared, and he gave this message to take us to transcendental morality or transcendental goodness, overcome this duality. But the current scenario setting, someone, it's very, very certainly difficult, very painful, yeah, very unfortunate. I mean, those wives, children whose husbands and dads are posted in war, the trauma and all they go to, those sons and even ladies as well who've been posted in war. and their family members and friends, and for themselves as well when they return. It's very traumatic experiences. Now, how again is to I mean, the real thing is cultivating spiritual education, spiritual knowledge. Until and unless that spiritual knowledge or spiritual understanding that who am I? Am I this body or a spirit soul? Until and unless that is ignited, what is my relationship with God? We will keep on going in circles. We will be keeping on going in circles, and we will be heavily influenced by our karmic reactions, by the karmic law. Does that somewhat touch or answer your point? Yeah, I mean, the message is for us, first of all, not to be complacent, not to be judgmental, not to judge someone. That is not in our right. Um, and to be more of accepting or more gaining knowledge or education for ourselves. So, by comparison to his own self, through our own experiences and emotions, again, what we do not want done to ourselves, we do not do it to others. And how we want ourselves to be treated, we treat others in the same way. Man is made in the image of God, right? Everyone belongs to God. So we treat everyone at that human platform. Certainly, our sort of behavior or relationship would be different, but at least there should not be the same thing. We wouldn't be able to love everyone. Only Krishna can love us all, but at least we need not hate anyone, and sees the true equality of all beings in the both their happiness and distress, because this is a world of duality. So no person can say that I've been ever happy or I've been ever distressful. To say that I'm happy, one is in ignorance, and to say that I'm in distress also is in ignorance. They both are in ignorance. So seeing in that equal vision, that if one is considering to be happy, who are you? What is your identity, body or soul? And what in relationship with Krishna? And likewise, like for sun, is there any darkness for the sun in the sun? Is there any darkness in the sun, or for the sun is there any darkness? There's no darkness. So to say that, okay, to think that there's darkness in the sun, it's a bondage, it's an illusion, uh, it's avidya, it's ignorance. To say that, okay, uh, Goddess Saraswati, the goddess of learning, or she hasn't got a right mind, or she's lacking knowledge. No, no. So likewise, that potentiality is there in each and everyone. So we need to go beyond the bodily identity and see the spiritual vision, spiritual spark, spiritual potential amongst each and everyone. Having said that, we cannot afford to treat or behave with each and everyone at that level. See what I mean? When we meet with, say, a train driver, a bus driver, some shopkeeper, some friend, family member, we treat with equal vision, but our behavior and all will be different based on the relationship we share. So he sees that true equality of all beings. Everyone in their spirit, we all are Krishnas. So that equality is there. And in both their happiness and distress, not having any personal grudge agenda or any sort of other personal favoritism as well. Say, understanding everyone is working or influenced under the law of karma. if that further somewhat. It's okay. It's more developing spiritual insight or spiritual understanding education. And again, theory has its big limitation. Theory has its limitation. Not much can be understood in theory. Theory, okay, it helps, gives us an inspiration, a line of sight, some thread to put it into practice, to convince ourselves, to build up our faith into conviction. But it is this applied theory which we want to do and build it up. Okay, so we continue reading next. Harsha आप पढ़िए अनुवाद and translation 33.
You want me to read the shloka?
Harsha आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है if you are reading.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
Harsha, we
Yeah,
are not
I
able
am
to hear
speaking.
you, by the way.
Hare
We
Krishna.
are not
Can you
able
hear
to
me now?
hear you, Harsha. Let me just read the Sanskrit shloka.
Okay.
Arjun uvaच योऽयं योगस्त्वया प्रोक्त साम्येन मधुसूदन एतस्याहं न पश्यामि चञ्चलत्वात् स्थितं स्थिराम्. Okay, maybe I will ask Alia to read the translation and purport as well.
Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. The system of mysticism described by Lord Krishna to Arjuna, beginning with the words Sukhaudase and ending with Yogi Parama, is here being rejected by Arjuna out of a feeling of inability. It is not possible for an ordinary man to leave home and go to a secluded place in the mountains or jungles to practice yoga in this age of Kali. The present age is characterized by a bitter struggle for a life of short duration. People are not serious about self-realization, even by simple practical means. And what to speak of this difficult yoga system, which regulates the mode of living, the manner of sitting, selection of place, and detachment of the mind from material engagements. As a practical man, Arjuna thought it was impossible to follow this system of yoga, even though he was favorably endowed in many ways. He belonged to the royal family and was highly elevated in terms of numerous qualities. He was a great warrior, he had great longevity, and above all, he was the most intimate friend of Lord Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead. 5,000 years ago, Arjuna had much better facilities than we do now, yet he refused to accept this system of yoga. In fact, we do not find any record in history of his practicing it at any time. Therefore, this system must be considered generally impossible in this age of Kali. Of course, it may be possible for some very few rare men, but for the people in general, it is an impossible proposal. If this were so 5,000 years ago, then what of the present day? Those who are imitating this yoga system in different so-called schools and society, although complacent, are certainly wasting their time. They are completely in ignorance of the desired goal. Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. Okay.
Thank you, Alia. So it's a dialogue. A dialogue is not a one-way conversation or one-way discussion in here, and it's nothing is like imposed that okay, Krishna is imposing something to Arjuna. No, and there's no like a mind games as well, or playing with Arjuna's emotions or playing with his mind or trying to manipulate. It's rather Bhagavad Gita doesn't paint any pessimistic view towards life. Something I'm trying to on your question or no, on your point as well. Bhagavad Gita doesn't paint any pessimistic view in life, neither an optimistic or over the top view in life. Very realistic view. Ah, neither like okay to put someone into depression or really underconfidence and all not worth or to make anyone fearful say no, and neither to give someone any overconfidence. To be like Bhagavad Gita, Krishna wants us not to be stupid, certainly not to be just ignorant, dumb, and stupid, or and also he doesn't want us to act any smart, to act any over the top intelligence or be too intelligent. Sometimes people say, "Oh, he's too intelligent." It has both an expression, a connotation, or an expression of sarcasm in there that means he's too smart, he's too good, and we shouldn't be acting or wanting to be too smart or too intelligent. So Bhagavad Gita is to all for us to be more come in terms with reality and be more realistic. And speaking of consideration, Krishna wants us to be very considerate, very considerate. This is why, like in human life, sometimes, many times I find, doesn't matter. We could be living in a spiritual setting, spiritual environment, monastery and ashram, and the whole world is judging us. Even though outside people, they may not be practicing any spirituality, they may not be knowing of some spiritual, like we go out Glasgow and other places and all. Many youth whom we meet and all, we ask, okay, do you know what monks do or not as such, and how as such they're connected with the society and all, the monks. So, but the society somewhat understands what a monk is supposed to be doing. He's supposed to be kind, compassionate, gentle, and considerate. Consideration. Krishna is also not blankly refuting Arjuna. He's not blankly chastising Arjuna. He's not. He's not putting Arjuna down. That oh, fight. What's wrong with you and all. He's trying to be considerate to Arjuna's position. But consideration doesn't mean that you pamper the person, you flatter the person, or you just do something cheap hot fix for him. No, Krishna is giving him the real knowledge, the real divine transcendental knowledge to elevate him completely, not just once, completely. And this is what those coming from war or recovering from abusive relationships, some abuse and all. Certainly, we need to be speaking gentle, soft, good. Everything is there. But if we do not bring out the real knowledge, the real understanding, the core of spirituality. The beginning of spirituality is when we understand who are we, body or soul. If that is not brought out, what help could we do actually? What help? The person is still in loops, still carrying so much heavy emotions and expressions, everything. And there were some devotees back in 80s, I believe, or something. One is actually a renounced other monk now, Danvir Maharaj, I believe his name. He was also in our army posted during Vietnam time or after. And when he was there, he was living as a Hare Krishna cook or as a Hare Krishna soldier. Don't think so. He participated in the war, but he was feeding prasadam and he was chanting and singing and all. And the other day, Pradyumna Prabhu mentioned there were a devotee, I don't remember his name now, something, and there was another American soldier. They both were posted in Iraq. So the American soldier used to call this devotee Hare Krishna or something. And he used to sometimes mock, sometimes fun, sometimes joke, and many times mean it, like mocking of his Krishna conscious practice. But this other soldier, American soldier, died in the war, and he died in front of the eyes of his this devotee soldier. And the American soldier, while passing away, said, "Of what are the odds of all everything happening?" I don't literally remember. Pradumna quoted the literal thing. What are the odds of everything that has happened, and I'm dying in front of a Hare Krishna? Like all these years they live, work together and all, and he mocked, joked, fun, maybe a bit sarcasm, a bit abuse as well, was not say considerate. But he said, like, what are the odds or chances I'm dying in front of Hare Krishna? And actually, that's such a glorious way of passing for this American soldier. He considered the other person to be a devotee, a representative of Krishna. He considered it, although he didn't really believe in the practice, the principles, the teachings of Krishna consciousness, but still he considered him to be a Hare Krishna devotee of Krishna. And that brings so much of blessing or credit on the part of this American soldier who passed away. So the thing is, like, how can we be more considerate in society? Considerate means society making more rooms for understanding, more rooms for adjustment. They say adjustment is the name of the game. Adjustment is the name of the game. Any relationship, generally, relationships are more based on like skin color, looks, external, money, uh, centered around by and large that, and which over a period of time may fade, which will fade. And it's not seen to be more based around, say, uh, some principle, some trust, or this consideration factor. And I mean, we would be as dead as matter if we are not considerate. So we should be considerate of our mind as well, of our existence as well, and others' existence as well. We cannot afford to be having too much of self-pity on ourselves and not also thinking ourselves to be something over the top or something too much, say. Uh, Everything in balance is good for us to situate ourselves a bit firmly in Krishna consciousness and then take a leap. Then take a leap. We can do everything in moderately, everything in balance, but not loving Krishna. But in order to love Krishna, first, yeah, okay, we try to strike some balance or come in somewhat sanity. And this is where consideration is very important. We just cannot afford to be fanatics otherwise. Practicing or preaching Krishna consciousness and sounding like fanatic and not considering the person's situation, positions. Krishna isn't fanatic, and the message isn't a fanatic. Uh, and especially the practice, there is not like a race that one has to perfect Krishna consciousness in this life itself. If not, then doomed. Or we want to perfect each moment and all, but the charm is in not winning the race. The message is not to win the race, but I mean, one who is participating is a winner as long as we are participating. And society works differently. Society says, oh, you're participating, take your consolation prize. That's your consolation. You have won. Okay, you have made it. Uh, but in Krishna consciousness, one who is participating is a winner. And one who thinks that, oh, I've won it, I've got it, Krishna will say, okay, you are on your own. Any thoughts, questions, or comments? And we'll see this just on this system, of yoga. What Arjuna is saying appears impractical and unendurable. We'll see this tomorrow in our discussion. It's the uh, in text 11 to 14 we see in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says like more on Arjuna wanting to go in escape in forest, that no, I want to give up this war, it's not good, and I will go in forest. And Krishna is saying, look, you can well go in forest, but your mind, can your mind go along with you? Huh? You cannot leave this mar. Physically, yes, but through your mind, no. Look how things have changed. People earlier used to go to pilgrimage, even in Europe and other places. They used to prepare themselves, prepare their mind, and prepare their body. So we are going for pilgrimage, walk long distance and all. And then when they arrive, their body, their mind has first arrived in the pilgrimage. The mind used to arrive first. Why? Because even in Europe, right? The places of pilgrimage in France, Spain, and in Asia and other places. So they would walk, take a journey and all, and contemplating, thinking of the pilgrimage of their austerity and prayers and worship. So before the body reaches, the mind reaches first. And now what have we got? First flight to London, first flight to Vrindavan. Before we prepare our mind, 8 hours, 9 hours overnight journey from London to Vrindavan. Boom, we land in Vrindavan, and we are trying to physically settle ourselves down with jet lag and all. And it takes 2-3 days to come. Okay, now mentally also I'm in Vrindavan. Say. So thing is, how do we prepare our mind? So Krishna telling Arjuna saying that, oh, it's better not to fight. I go in forest seclusion, and Krishna was saying, look, in seclusion the practice is like, we'll read tomorrow a bit more, that you need to sit in a certain position. Eyes should be half closed, pointing to the nose, looking at the nose. This is what the seat should be made of, the forest and all, and then celibacy and many other things. Hmm? Controlling your mind and senses, and the purpose of that yoga. Now, in this day and age, there's so many yoga centers and all. I'm not saying that's wrong. That's step in the right direction. Something is better than nothing. But we can add more on the principles of mind control, sense control, on the power of celibacy and the importance of maintaining celibacy. Many in this world may not be knowing the word celibacy, what it means as such in English or in Hindi brahmacharya, what is mean like. And without sense and mind control, without being consideration, there is no yoga. If we are not considerate of ourselves, situation, people around us, we are in illusion. We are not practicing yoga as such. Okay, maybe on this note, I think we leave it here and we'll continue tomorrow. Thank you very much for your consideration. Hare Krishna.